a PAL game, Michelin Rally Masters Champions. It's a game 2000 and it's a rally game, another rally game, and it actually was touched upon in one of the comments in my last video. And they said it actually is a very decent but underrated racing game. And I played this a lot back in the day. I remember that the controls are more or less radio control cars controls, with one of the analog sticks, the right one, being accelerate and brake, and the left one is for steering. Now if all goes well, I need to change sound and change the music volume to a boring 0% in order to avoid any copyright music strike things, because, well, believe you me, racing games, they have a lot of licensed music. So I'll select the single player championship mode because that allows me to show you a bit more of the tracks.
The Rally Masters Championship pitches world-class competitors head-to-head on challenging sprint circuits.
Wow. Formula 2. Automatic, continue. And my name is Mark, so that's alright. And I also played the PC version.
Welcome to the first event on the
a
Rally
lot.
Masters Championship calendar. The Italian Alps providing a stunning backdrop for the event at the Aosta Sprint Circuit. This fast, undulating gravel tarmac circuit requires excellent high-speed control and the...
So this actually is one of the easier tracks because it's gravel and tarmac and you get better traction. So this is a buggy car race. It's very light cars and I'm curious how they will operate. Bear with me, it has been quite a while since I last played this, say about 20 years. I may have played it very quickly, or very, how do you say that? Very, a very small bit. So this is the PAL game. The speed of the race is the same, only the frame rate is a bit lower, and the squigglies are a bit less frantic, but it actually plays the same. There's the aspect ratio of the screen is slightly different. The aspect ratio of NTSC standard definition TV is more of a square, and often we have black bars on top and bottom of the screen on PAL games. It's also because the resolution, the PAL resolution is 576 lines instead of the 480 with NTSC, so it's like almost like a 20% resolution increase. It's actually funny because if you consider 720p, that's actually the jump up to 720p is less for PAL than it is for NTSC. Yeah, I do have some muscle memory with the control of the car, and it's like you're driving a radio remote controlled car. So I didn't do very well. I got second. Of course, when I'm yeah, let's check out the replay. Let's see how the camera work is. I think the tracks and the graphics are actually very well done. There's a lot of variation along the tracks. You know, you have tents, you have buildings, so you really get a sense of where you are. And the track just doesn't consist of just the road and, you know, a repeating random set of trees and stuff. No, it's really an environment, and that works actually really well. But the drawing distance is a lot less if you compare it to some of the other games that I've shown. And I think the backdrop, which sort of has a bit of the intermediate landscape, it's less defined. It's much more coarse and less defined. So. But it does look great on a CRT. It does look a lot better on CRT than it does in this grab. And if you're watching it on a modern display, you know, a phone, a tablet, or a flat screen TV, it won't necessarily... Oh, these Toyota cars, these are like roller skates. But they control rather nicely. So let's focus on steering this car along the track. I believe this mode, even if you do finish last, you get to advance to the other stages. And I think the engine sound is actually a lot more realistic than the last game I showed. The last game, WRC Arcade or something like that, the engine sound sounded like bees, a swarm of bees, and or wasps. And this actually, you even hear the turbo kick in. And there's a sense of the rotations per minute of the engine changing when the gears are changed. I won't make it. I won't win because the other car is faster. But that's just me, because narrating does take away processing power of my brain, and of course my subpar racing skills will, well, they're not subpar, but they are subpar when it's a very old game that I haven't played for a very long time is concerned. So Rui Madeira. It sounds like a Portuguese name, Madeira. So I'm 5th with 2 points. Not very. So we go to Sweden, and let's save. Let's save. PlayStation memory cards are. They're a lot smaller than PlayStation 2 memory cards, and you do have to. They're I don't know, 128 megabytes or something like that. It's very small, and I believe the standard size of a PlayStation 2 memory card is like 4 or 8 megabytes. So it's very small saves.
The frozen terrain of northern Sweden is a sharp contrast to the sunshine in Italy. Drivers and teams have to adapt quickly to prepare them.
Oh yeah, this is just a sliding fest because you drive through snow. Okay. Actually, the PC version comes very close to this, or this comes very close to the PC version. I don't know whether or not I played it with my Voodoo card, or if I played it with my TNT or GeForce card. Of course, it was possible to run it at a higher resolution, 800 by 600 or something like that. And I controlled it with the cursor keys. Up for accelerate and down for brake. And left and right to steer. Oh. Yeah, you do slide around a fair bit. Oh, I remember that balloon that was also present in the PC version. The drawing distance on the PC version is quite a bit further, but all the, from what I remember, but all the environment of the track and the bridges and stuff, it's all there. It's very similar. I do have a retro gaming PC. I still have the disc as well, so I may actually be able to capture some of that as well. And you really need an old CD drive, because I remember the disc having a copy protection that would not always work properly if you use a DVD drive, optical drive, to play the game. And that's regarding the PC version, of course. Yeah, that's the good thing about these old consoles in general, that it did allow for a very homogeneous experience across the user base. You know, there's no weak graphics card to take into account. No subpar memory configurations, or, you know, it's all, we all get the same experience, albeit, of course, the difference between the PAL and the NTSC regions. But yeah, that was also quite a big relief. Let's see if I can finish first. It seems to be that way. Perfect, yeah, I won. So yeah, it's all these racing games, of course. This is the Michelin Rally. Let's see. They have their own idiosyncrasies. These tracks are, it's like a figure 8, where you start out on one end of the track and then you move across to the other one, and it's like one continuous loop. What I like about this is that you sort of get the impression of racing your opponent on the same road. So it's like a normal race instead of a rally race, and you actually being on a different part of the track. What's also interesting is that a part of this track actually winds around, and you actually lose sight of one another. So it's sometimes it's a bit of a surprise finding out that you're actually way behind or actually way in front. So yeah, I think it's a lovely game. It controls well. Of course, these days we are more used to racing games being mapped on the triggers. They could have, because I mean this does support the analog controls on the PlayStation 1 controller, the dual shock controller. A buggy in Sweden. Now this might actually be, buggies are quite light, so it could be that it doesn't slide around as much. But it could also be quite difficult to drive these, I'm not sure, but let's check it out. I remember there being an Indonesia track, an Italy track, Finnish track, a Swedish track. There's a lot of Volkan Isik, that sounds like a Slavic name or something like that, Volkan. Polish. And that would be yeah, it's hard to gauge the level of control on the tarmac. Well, yeah, it's rather light. It does grip the snow better, it seems. But of course, these snow tracks are very floaty. Oh. Yeah, I am. Yeah, if you do get a chance to try this game out on an old CRT, I would advise you to do so, because what looks like pretty blocky, or you have like these stepped stairs effects, you won't have that as much on a CRT. It actually looks a lot more organic, much more defined. Even the way the lights on the car, the brake lights and stuff, they look much more realistic on a CRT than here, and that's because the CRT, if you have 2 pixels with a specific color, with a different color, there's a bit of a third pixel in between. That is the contrast and a bit of the combined color. So there's a lot more information, there's color bleed, there's all sorts of stuff happening on a CRT that's different from modern TVs. Oh. And a friend of mine actually said, well, you have shaders for emulators or something like that can actually replicate a CRT, and I don't think the characteristics of a CRT can actually be replicated yet. So it pays, if you are into your retro systems like I am, it actually pays to have an old CRT at the ready, have it hooked up, and enjoy a lot of these older consoles, especially the ones with standard definition out, the non-HD consoles. I might win, but yeah, but they were on my heels. They were nipping at my heels, nipping at my Achilles heels. Okay, let's go to the next event without seeing the replay, because, well, we've seen the track before. Yeah. What's also quite typical of these older generation games is, of course, the loading screens. The loading screens are just something that you have to get used to, because I think the PlayStation only had like 2 megabytes of RAM, and I believe part of that actually also is video memory. So, and then you have to load in the track data, the track information. So yeah, it's a totally different ball game if you look at the size of the executables, the size of the resources that are loaded into memory, how compressed it all is. Yeah. Oh wow, I do recognize 7-Up. 7-Up. I do think what was perfectly normal back in the early 2000s was to drink 7-Up. These days, it's like you're drinking toxic waste, you know, with the carbohydrates, the sugar. Basically, it's Mountain Dew. But it was at a time when 7-Up Light, I don't think 7-Up actually came in a light or diet variant. I may be mistaken, but not, no, I don't think it did. So basically it's like drinking sugared water, carbonated sugared water. But actually it was, if you weren't very keen on the caffeine kick that Coke gave you, Coca-Cola, Pepsi Cola, then 7-Up actually was a sensible choice. A very nice touch is that these flags that you saw on the poles, they actually wave a bit. So there's a lot of small details, and I really find it amazing if you see what sort of things are actually crammed into these games. And I was building PCs for a long time. I've told this story before in other videos, but I was building PCs around the 486, 386 era, and I was flipping them because I wanted to have pretty decent cutting edge hardware. So I was flipping them, and it paid a lot of my tuition and costs of living and stuff. But I also was keen on just having a turnkey gaming experience. So back then, and you're talking the 90s, I actually got a SNES, and that was old already then. Yeah, I've lost. So just to be able, and an MSX system, I mean a Commodore 64 game, just to be able to just have an easier way of playing games instead of installing it from disk or installing it from CD and configuring the drivers and stuff. I mean, with the advent of DirectX and Windows gaming, things got much more, and of course the standard for 3D accelerated graphics. PC gaming became much more of a standardized experience, were it not for the fact that hardware iterations were just were just so frequent, and things progressed in such a fast way that you would blink your eyes twice and then your system was obsolete. From high spec to obsolete. It was just insane. And around that time, and I think it was around around 98, 95, 96, Windows 95, around 98 I actually got a PlayStation, and I got it with Gran Turismo and Gran Turismo 2 and with R4 Ridge Racer 4. Just oversteer there, always oversteer there, so I make the same mistakes, and because I'm distracted because I'm talking there's no learning effect, so I keep making the same mistakes. But as you can see, it's a different paced game. It's because of the two parallel tracks. You really get to concentrate on performing well on the track. I almost flipped it over. Here we have the 7-Up can. Q8. So yeah, I mean, product placement, sponsoring, that's an obvious thing in this game. Okay, let's see if I can overtake and perhaps keep ahead. I think the NTSC game runs slightly smoother when it comes to screen updates and frame rate, but it's sliding out of control. Of course, this is an arcade racer because sometimes you see your opponent doing corkscrews in the air, being launched at a very high velocity, and you barely making a mistake and still finish behind. So yeah, that's a bit of a thing. I might be able to overtake.
We've done it.
Yeah, only just on it. It's actually quite interesting because a generational brother sister of the PlayStation, of course, was Nintendo's offering, the Nintendo 64. The crazy thing is that it's a bit of a RISC processor that's in the PlayStation. It's actually very similar to that of the Nintendo 64. So processing power wise, the systems were actually very similar. But the way the graphic system works and the rest, of course, is very different. But there's a lot of similarity, more than you would think. And at one point, I actually had two PlayStations. And I believe, yeah, I had three even. And I had one that was chipped, and I actually traded that with a kid and his dad for a Nintendo 64 because I always wanted to have a Nintendo 64 as well. So that's how I gained my Nintendo 64. It was second-hand, but it came in the box with a scope, and that was for the SNES. But yeah, good stuff. And yeah, I remember that I severely preferred the PlayStation most of the time, especially when it comes to racing games. But of course, Nintendo has a very strong first-party set of games that are the Zeldas and well, yep. Oh wow, that is something I do not dare to repeat. A sort of flip corkscrew thing. And here you had a track going in opposite direction, so seemingly, because it loops around. And I do think these, the later PlayStation games, they really got their colors, their shading, their baked in shadows and stuff. They got it right. Here you actually saw when I went underneath that thing, the tire arc thing, that there actually was a slight dimming of the colors of the car. So there's a bit of fake shadow thing going on. But of course, all these lighting effects and special effects, they had to be programmed in by the developers. And there's very little hardware baked in special effects. The PlayStation 2, of course, is a is a completely different system, with the Emotion engine being quite excellent at hardware special effects. And it really was a huge generational leap, I think, the PlayStation 1 versus the PlayStation 2. Very exciting times back in the day. But I remember that the PlayStation 2 was, for quite some time, much like the PlayStation 3 actually, was an excellent media player for DVDs. It was one of the cheaper, or the cheapest DVD player, capable DVD player. But there weren't many games out there for it yet. So a lot of people ended up playing... Yeah, I didn't win. I ended up playing PlayStation 1 titles on their PlayStation 2 consoles. And a lot of people actually got rid of their PlayStation 1 consoles. And I think the PlayStation 1 consoles seem to be less prone to breaking or the lasers wearing out than the PlayStation 2 consoles. It seems. I'm not sure if it's just my own personal experience. But so I've crept up some places. 4 points, position 3, Indonesia. Yeah, and this is a dirt track. Let's save. And I remember not being very good because you do skid around. It's very loose soil. Yeah, just override it. So I may not, it may just be horrible to watch, I'm not sure, but it's interesting to see how the tracks look. And you do get, oh yeah,
round 3 of the championship.
Mud, a lot of mud. It's worse than snow even. Toyota. So, I mean, this is from 2000, so it's almost a quarter of a century old, this game. And to me, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. And to be able to have a console still running after all that time is actually quite interesting. I had to service quite a fair few of my PlayStation consoles though. Okay, so we start with one of the easier cars. Oh yeah, that swampy bridge thing that is at the angle. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of old memories coming back to me. It has been quite some time since I last played it. Yeah, and this seemingly being in the midst of a field and you have the freedom to move around, it's actually not the case. But there's actually dirt kicking up from your tires, mud kicking up from your tires, palm trees. Yeah, so the drawing distance isn't the greatest, but they sort of got around that by having a very undulating track, a lot of bends and corners. Yeah, and this bit is actually quite different. And depending on which side you drive, this is much more straightforward. As you can see, you do slide around quite a fair bit if you brake in the mud. And that's something that I really like about this game. It really, the cars do handle quite differently, as well as the different road types, the soil types, do have a substantial impact on how the cars control. And of course the control scheme being quite alien to what we are used to right now. Most of these games, they have the X, one of the action buttons, the lower action buttons on the face button on the PlayStation controller, as accelerate. We've done it. Ah, cool. And the way the colors work, this being the overcast sky, a bit ominous. It's not a very bright sunny day. It really, I mean, the colors are excellent color work. I really love the design of the way it all looks. And I think a lot of these games, of course, the appreciation comes from nostalgia. But if you are somewhat familiar with the hardware capabilities, the unpossibilities and the possibilities, knowing the limitations of the hardware, is actually quite amazing to see what they could squeeze out of this console. And I think the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 do have a considerable, they have a very large amount of games they consist of a very large amount of games in my collection. And then of course Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Wii U, Wii. And I must say that for the newer consoles, the PlayStation 4, I downloaded a lot of things, even though I'm not a big fan of DRM and digital downloads. The same goes for the Xbox. With the Xbox, I did Xbox and the Xbox 360 and the Xbox, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. I did get a lot of optical media for it, but the other generations, Xbox Series X and later, and the PlayStation 4 and 5, I have just a small number of discs, but they are the discs that the games that I find really special. For example, Last Guardian, the Horizon games, God of War games, you know, those type of things. Last of Us. Yeah. But I do think that collecting is something that I tend to do with games that don't require patching or updates. So yeah, I do have a Nintendo 3DS set of games. The Evercade is a game system that I have actually a fair few cartridges for, but they also seem to be endless. But I'm not going to go for a complete collection. I'm going to get the games that I like. But yeah, it being physical media, and I believe it does use flash storage, and if it's battery backed up or if it corrupts, probably the games will become worthless. But yeah, that's just it's something that is not happening with the older game systems, the solid state gaming systems. I really am borking up here. But to substantially reverse quite a number of times. Yeah, and of course me bumping into the sides of the road doesn't help either. Yeah, I didn't win. We'll do better next time. Yeah, do better. Canal Plus. It used to be a I think it's still around, but it used to be a movie channel, movie sports channel in Europe. Next event. So I'm hoping that Indonesia is over and done with, but I don't think so. There are still some cars that needed to be driven on that track, I guess. No, quarterfinal. Oh, winner. No. Next car, Peugeot. Yeah, so it's like on the same track, or isn't it? I'm not sure. Yeah, it still is. So yeah, I'm really liking my racing games. I'm going through quite a fair few of my racing games, and they are across many platforms, many different old home computer systems, modern consoles, and I seem to be stuck on PlayStation 1 for a bit now. But that's just how it works, because I used to have everything hooked up, and now I just have periods where I just hook up a specific I mean, there's consoles that I've hooked up all the time, like the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the Xbox consoles, and Mister. But the older consoles I haven't hooked up permanently, but I do have a separate area in my game room where I hook up the older systems on a CRT. And I used to have it all hooked up. What? I am. This was a very controlled maneuver. Yeah, you do slide around substantially, especially with this car that is actually quite heavy. But I mean, if you know the limitation, I mean, what really helps, I think, is if you sort of squint through your eyelashes, and you sort of lose the blockiness, everything gets sort of smoothed over. And if you look at the way the perspective works, the car moves, the way the tracks are laid out, then it's really all there. There's a lot of geometry and elements are there. There's great use of color, shading, and yeah, it's just very, very well done. And of course, what these games are mostly hindered by is the lack of resolution, the lack of color, and also the geometry processing on the PlayStation is, of course, it's toned down, less precise than the arcade counterparts. So that's why you get the squiggly lines. No, I want to do the next event. And you do see, I hope it'll I'm upscaling this footage to 4K, but it's captured at standard definition. But I hope you are able to see some of the dithering effects that go on, because using fewer colors, 16-bit colors for example, it uses a lot less memory than 32-bit colors, because every pixel actually uses half the amount of memory. So there's a speed and a memory benefit to be had if you use the dithering. And with dithering you alternate the colors. Actually what you do is make use of the characteristics of a CRT, where if you have adjoining pixels with the same color and a different one in between, it gets blended, so you actually get more different colors. And the dithering, there's Oh, it is actually possible to accelerate with the X. Ah. That's much more natural for me. So now I'm actually using the X button. Totally by accident did I discover that. But that's a digital digital control, so it's less precise, of course, but it's a bit easier because you, at least for me, so this little tunnel thing. Okay, and then we have this weirdly angled, yeah, right, swamp bridge. Yeah, and I do think the mud is worse than the snow even. Yeah, and you do hear the turbo sounds. You actually hear turbo sounds, diesel turbo sounds from the engine. So that's actually quite realistic to my ears. Oops. Yeah, and still banging, of course, for this. Yeah, could be very grating watching me repeating the same mistakes all over again. Ah, so yeah, I'm using the X, and it's instantly I actually am a bit better. Still no next event. This might actually be it, I'm not sure. There was a fourth area, wasn't there? I'm not sure. Yeah. I remember really liking this font, you know, this on a CRT it really looked sharp, and now it looks more pixelated, but you do see the use of subpixels. Semifinals race letter, so a Toyota Corolla, continuous championship, and I'm curious, is it still Indonesia? Probably is. It's actually quite interesting. Yeah, the way the races are laid out with this game, it's not very clear to me. all these racing games, they have different rosters, different ways of doing things.
3, 2, 1, go.
I remember back in the day, I really had a hard time racing cars from this perspective, because its controls are different, the perspective is different. But these days I really don't care, and well, I am better at like the hood of the car camera position, or not so much the in-car position, because the in-car position you don't have your peripheral vision, even though the interior of the car and the way the screen looks and stuff is all very neatly done. You don't have your peripheral vision, so in a lot of ways it just doesn't work for me. What? Yeah, bumping into the sides of the road, not very professional. And if this game had a damage model, my car would have been just a complete mess. I guess a compressed cube of 10 centimeters diameter. But I guess the PlayStation, a lot of the PlayStation games, they really gave the games a sense of skill. Under the underpass, and then the final bit towards the exit. Well done. Okay, so for me it's much easier to race with the face buttons. And it's really weird if you've played a lot of racing games. Racing games become a lot easier, even if you play games that you haven't played before or have played a long time ago. It does translate to other racing games, especially if they're done well. And I think the PlayStation with the polygons and the PC with the polygons, car physics and perspective and the way the tracks were laid out really became the final more predictable in a way, more realistic, even if they are rally games or arcade games. I sort of gravitated towards that era of racing games. You won't see me play a lot of 16-bit racing games because for some reason I don't remember the road. I don't remember the road or imprint the road on my memory if it's just a random set of elements. Whoops! Yeah, and how long can we have that crash? Continue race. In this game, you really have different areas in the game. It really is a place where you ride, where you drive around, and that works for me. So it's not some snobbist thing, because some of these 8-bit or 16-bit racing games, they really are fun, but for some reason it just doesn't work with me. I don't have the spatial orientation or something like that. Now I won't win this final. Might even forego a podium position. Yeah, this car is more powerful than the other cars, I guess. So yeah, it's like bumper cars. And I think it's a lot more fun to play than to watch this, because it's like smashing into the sides of the track all the time. But hopefully my narration is a bit of a redeeming factor, or not. I think racing games are a great stress reliever. Oh, you do get a sense of speed, and if you're lucky, you get into the flow of things. Better luck next time? Probably. Yeah. 19 seconds. Oh gosh. That's not good. No, no, it will be traumatic if I watch that replay. So I will forgo, and I will spare you the retina tearing experience. And for me, of course, it's so an Audi S1. So suddenly we have a different set of cars that weren't present before, I think. So yeah, that makes it a lot more difficult as well, because these cars, they're much more powerful. So you get into a spin quite a lot easier, and just the way the cars respond on the road is different. Higher powered cars are not necessarily. Let's do the dual analog stick again. Let's see if I can. Oh. This does behave differently from the other car. It seems a bit lighter. Could be mistaken. It steers more rapidly, so the steering arc or the rotation arc is a lot quicker. So I guess it's a more responsive car in a way. It doesn't seem to slide as much. So I would imagine it being due to the fact that it oh no, that it may be a somewhat lighter car than the other car I just driven. I'm not sure, but I always find it hard to guesstimate the weights of these retro cars. It's from an era where actually cars looked substantially different. These days, all modern cars seem to gravitate towards the Tesla look or the SUV look. Oops. Don't fall over, don't flip over, please don't. Yeah. Thank you. So now we have this. No, it's a bumper fest still. Bumping fast. Oh well. Just to show you the tracks. Yeah, it's horrible. Well, not as horrible as the last one. It's only 10 seconds over the fastest time. But this is not going to be a podium. This is not going to be a podium position for sure. Citroën. I don't think the loading graphics look very different. So the race ladder. Oh, position 2. I do have a podium position. Possibly. USA. Oh, it continues. Save. Indonesia, just overwrite. When playing these older games, it's actually quite interesting to see.
A relatively new event in US Rally Sprint Racing.
Gravel and tarmac should be perhaps a bit easier. Yeah, playing these older games, it's actually fascinating to see how much of today's games are like the older games. There's a lot of stuff is just basically retained, you know. It's been perhaps Oh, this is one of these indoor events.
2, 1, go.
Oh wow. Like a stadium. Oh. Oh. What? Yeah. Golden Gate facsimile. What? So yeah, you really have to know your. This is actually one of these tracks that would suit buggies better than these larger cars. But oh, okay, let's go in one of these tube-like instructions. Well, if you look at how well this stadium is defined, how well it is all defined, quick, you have to drive around and then you make a loop back. It's actually very well done. And I do think that the PlayStation, when it comes to geometry and stuff, really has a lot more going on the screen, much more elaborate graphics in a way compared to the Nintendo 64. It seems. It's hard comparing, but a lot of Nintendo 64 games, they look very blurred out with very low polygon counts, and yeah, it's just a very different type of game. But there's a ton of great games on Nintendo 64, but there's not many cross-platform games. I think, well, there are a few, but there are these old, like Doom and Quake and stuff. They're on the Nintendo 64, actually, they're quite specific, quite unique, actually. Yeah, because Doom on the Nintendo 64 and Quake is very different from the regular MS-DOS version, whereas the Doom and Quake on the PlayStation is actually pretty much an identical copy of the MS-DOS version. So yeah, I'm not sure why that was. Possibly because Nintendo had a say in it. They wanted to have it more child-friendly. But there are like adult games on the Nintendo 64, so I'm not sure. Really not sure. Look, this is like...
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, this is a type of car that's just built for a track like this. As you can see, I'm not very good at... Oh. And I'm not sure if I have to go around or if I just was... I think I shouldn't have gone around. But yeah, it's a bit disorienting. I may actually encounter the other car because I'm like very slow. Oh, and this bit with the subway-like experience. Golden Gate Bridge. Brake! Oh. So even this, one of these stadium-like racing games, it's like these big cars with huge inflated tires that just bounce around. Or like motor racing events, motorsports events with motorcycles, where you just jump barrels and what have you. It's a really alien way of racing to me, these stadium events. But it's a very nice, diverse set of tracks, I think. And yeah, it's a fun game. And I agree, it's an underrated game that should perhaps deserve more attention. There's a PC version out for it. And it's just a good game. Continue championships. So I'm position 5. So yeah, I'm England. So I dropped severely, just failed. Continue. So next game is England.
Moving east from the United States and on into Europe, the driver...
Gravel and tarmac. Peugeot. Yeah, this video just goes on and on. I may actually have to just stop in a bit because it might be over 1 hour long, and people won't just won't have the attention span to listen to me waffle all the time like this. So Great Britain.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, a couple of days ago actually, King Charles was crowned. And I believe he's 74 years old, and his mom, she was very old when she stopped being a queen, of course. Funny thing is, our Queen Beatrix, she actually stopped being a queen 10 years ago, and her son succeeded her, and she actually retired at 2 years younger than Charles is now. So yeah, it's a really old king, I guess. But it seems rather vital. So a lot of the, I believe Canada and Australia also have King Charles as their monarch. And it's actually quite interesting to see that traditions like that still exist. And of course there's a huge discussion going on whether or not it's still of these times, you know, having a king or being a king. And I tend to shy away from any political discussion like that. You know, it's just not something I've thought about much, but I do think it's quaint, you know. It's traditions and stuff. A lot of these traditions, they were like 1,000 years old. I did watch some of it on TV, of course. But yeah, it's actually quite something special. But yeah, not entirely for me, I think. I would not want to be someone like that, you know. Just very keen on living my own life and not being in the spotlights too much. So that way is a good thing that my YouTube channel doesn't become as huge as what's he called? Oh, that's a good thing. I forgot his name. well, there's a couple of huge YouTube channels that are like bigger than life celebrities. Well, luckily that's not me with my hobby channel.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so let's see if I can, if there was a bit of a learning curve. Of course, the gravel is much more sliding around and stuff. I like that yellow. I like those yellow roadworking equipment, the shovel and the big truck. It's really realistic. I think they did use a lot of polygons for that. Whoa! Low flying cars. Very strange. Now the thing is, you see a car, your opponent, you see hurling through the air like that, you know, doing cartwheels, and still you can only make a few mistakes and still end up second. So that's a bit weird from this. I'm not sure if there's any. There might be quite a fair bit of rubber banding going on, but I'm not sure. There wouldn't be any need for it actually, but perhaps the computer opponent is just better at recovering from an aerial stunt like that, and I just remain laying on my roof, seconds ticking away, and failing yet another event. The story of my life. Well, I almost end up on the other track. Well, there was an invisible barrier. But yeah, I quite like this. This is like a bit of a quarry-like situation. And with the drawing distance not being very far. Awesome. Oh wow. They did solve it quite well, I think. Instead of just popping up everything, they just make it fade in. It's like, you know, geometry and textures are getting more defined and present when they come into viewing reach. And I think it's a very nice organic way. And on a CRT, it's actually much more subtle than you would than in this grab. Yeah, and this game, I mean, I was just going to just record just you know, a few shots and just, you know, perhaps one race and stuff, but it's like so much fun that I just keep playing it. So you just have to, so you will just have to endure it with me, or just shut off the video. This little car is just rock solid. It just doesn't slide around as much. It's not very powerful, but it's yeah, it does seem to be a very dependable little car, this Toyota. I mean, it handles well, but it's not very how you say, adventurous. It's like one of those cars that people go grocery shopping with or something like that. And perhaps I'm not doing it justice. It's like a little box, little square car. So yeah, some of these hills, they do appear like pyramids in view, but then the textures get lower, they fade in. And of course the programmers of the engine, they really had to create this themselves, because the original PlayStation doesn't have transparencies or any sort of automated graphical features like that. It's good at drawing polygons. I do believe it has a sort of MPEG texture compression thing, because it's or JPEG. I believe a lot of the motion videos on PlayStation are actually JPEG sequencers or something like that. I'm not finishing first. I couldn't be. Yeah. So it's either win or lose. There's only, yeah, well, there's only two outcomes, of course, but there's no somewhat win. So either epic fail or glorious win. A Vulcan continued championship. So I'm 5th. Not good, no podium position. Gran Canaria. Yeah, let's save. So it just goes on and on. Perhaps Gran Canaria, from the Canary Islands. There are a small group of islands off the coast of Morocco which are which do belong to the Spanish kingdom, or kingdom. They have a king, yeah, or the country of Spain. And I visited the Canary Islands, not Gran Canaria, but one of the more barren volcanic islands, probably the most northern one, a couple of years back. Amazing experience.
The tropical climate of the Canary Islands is the perfect venue.
I love gravel tarmac. That's actually easier to navigate. So yeah, I think I'll just show you a bit of this race and then I call it quits, because otherwise this video is going to go on too long, and you do have to have a bit of, how I said, not too many spoilers. I'm not sure. Perhaps this could be the last track in there. Were there like 12 or something like that? I'm not sure. Oh, this is if you select the other one. This is like the default track of the other. If you choose the championship or the default one from the menu, you actually get this track. So the first tracks you get the default track. So it does look like the mud track from Indonesia, but it's actually gravel, so it controls a lot nicer. Well, and it's difficult because there's a lot of places where you actually can launch your car or do corkscrews, and yeah, that's just not good if you want to win a race or something like that. Well, and I'm just blundering through the track. This place here, over here, you can actually, I believe you can actually launch your car and do corkscrews and stuff. Oh yeah, here. So you really but it's all there, you know, the audience, the public, it's also quite a vertical game in some places. Yeah, do better next time. Well, there won't be any next time, at least not in this game. thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another racing game or other video soon. If you like this video, leave a like. If you want to subscribe, please subscribe. If you leave a comment, please do leave a comment. Anyways, Mark signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon.